Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is where we talk sports. We do it 7 nights a week. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock, both here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. And if you're driving around, if you're watching tonight, give us a call at 412-575-2600. That's the hotline number that you can call us. And we have a lot to get into. Pirates with a sweep today. And the question I'm going to ask right now is, why did Bubba Chandler take so long to get here? I thought at the beginning of the season, when he was lights out and pitcher of the month in April and carried that into May and then early June, it was obvious he should be up here. They decided not to do it. I'm sure it has something to do with Super 2 and saving money and all of that, which I get. But at the same time, I think he went into a little bit of a funk after that, and he was brought up here, and you saw the energy when he came up. So my next question would be, how optimistic are you that the Pirates are going to support this pitching with something in this offseason? They did nothing last year, and they cost themselves a really good pitching year. They were on top pitching staffs in baseball, and yet no offense until late, but it's too late for that. What do you think their offseason plan would be, and how do you acquire batting? That's what they need more than anything else. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. But they won today, and they look good in doing so, and Paul Skeens has been outstanding. I don't think there's anything more we can say about him other than he's going to win the Cy Young. Zach Wheeler's out with an injury. Now, blew that big 9-run lead twice out there. And earlier in the season, they had a equally bad White Sox team in Pittsburgh, and they got swept by them. So it's been an up-and-down year, no doubt, but they certainly have a lot of pitching prospects working. Ashcraft the other day looked great. I think Mike Burrows has been solid. You put Jared Jones in here at some point next year, along with the guys they have, man, you can make a case that they're going to be a good pitching team once again. And that begs the question, what will they do? And if the answer is nothing, then shame on them and shame on Bob Nutting. 412-575-2600. We'll also talk about the Steelers and their roster. They have to make more roster decisions coming up on Tuesday, 4 p.m. I'd like to get your thoughts on the quarterback situation, what you think they will do or should do. You know that Aaron Rodgers is the starter. You know that Mason Rudolph is the backup. And for those of you who think he's not, again, go back to the most meaningful games he played in Pittsburgh. He won 3 in a row when they needed to win 3 in a row, and he had the best passer rating in the league at that point. He looked good in the first game. He threw an interception in the second game. Well, so be it. Skylar Thompson did a good job, but I think we've learned that preseason numbers can be deceiving. However, that does not mean that he won't be on this roster if Will Howard has that injury situation lingering. So if it is, he could end up on IR, and Skylar Thompson could be the third quarterback. But, as I said in the sportscast, Pete Carroll is now looking for a backup to Geno Smith. Why? Because Aiden O'Connor had a wrist injury that's going to keep him out from 6 to 8 weeks. So they're looking for an experienced backup. They might be able to make a deal here. But again, it depends on what the Steelers think the injury situation is with Will Howard and whether or not they were willing to part with Skylar Thompson, because they could have their own injuries. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers is going to be 42. There's no guarantee that he's going to be around for all 17 games, although he did play all 17 games last year with the Jets. 412-575-2600. All the golf fans out there, I'm sure you feel good for Tommy Fleetwood. He won the FedEx Cup today, although I have to question the system they used, because coming into this weekend, it clearly had a distinct advantage for Scotty Scheffler. In previous years, 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Let me know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter, also at KD Pomp. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're coming back with your phone calls next, right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. And welcome back. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night from Tour Championship. The wait is over. It was worth every second. Tommy Fleetwood has won the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup. As I was saying, you know, last year they would have given the points leader coming into this week a decided advantage. This year they scrubbed that, and they just said, you know, if you get to the final 30, you just got to win the final event. But it kind of makes moot all the work that Scotty Scheffler had done coming into the season. He was by far the points leader on the FedEx Cup, but that didn't come into play on this final day of the year and the final tournament of the year. He should have been in position to win this thing just by the start that he would have gained over everyone else. And he deserved that based on what's happened in previous years, but they changed it. I get it. But I have to feel good for Tommy Fleetwood, a very good golfer and somebody who's been waiting for a long time to get it done. A lot of phone calls. Let's get right to them at 412-575-2600. Will in McKees Rock. Good to talk to you, Will. How are you?
Hey, Bob. How are you? Great to hear from you as always.
You too. Thank you, man.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, you kind of stole my thunder with the Skeens thing, so I'd like to ask you something about the Steelers. Being the fact you've seen them all preseason, what things on the defense did you like in preseason, and what are some things that they could work on for the season?
Well, Will, I think Y.A. Black stood out to me more than anyone. I mean, he was a fifth-round pick, and nobody really expected him to come in and make, the kind of statement he did in this preseason, but he did. He was terrific. He doesn't look like someone who'd be able to do it. He's a big, massive guy, but he's just hard to move. And, I'm sure they're going to see him at nose tackle at some point. They're going to move him around. He is just a guy who takes on would-be tacklers, or would-be blockers, I should say, and he can just, work his way through them to get to the quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes up with a handful of sacks to complement, what guys like Cam Hayward or Derek Harmon. Now, Derek Harmon, of course, is going to miss maybe a couple of games because of what happened, but if you're a Steeler fan, you have to breathe a sigh of relief because it could have been far worse. And as he was carted off the field in Carolina the other night, it looked more serious based on his facial gesticulations. I mean, he was really in pain. But it turns out that it's not that bad. It's an MCL sprain. I think, they're going to have to get very much better in their run stopping. They did not do that last year. It's how their season fell apart. Teams ran down their throats. The Philadelphia game comes to mind, and the Ravens playoff game comes to mind where they had nearly 300 yards. You can't have that happen. When you do that, not only do you play into the other team and they keep the ball away from you, but you neutralize your pass rush, specifically those edge rushers. So I want to see them stuff up the middle a little bit and make it, down in distance in their advantage so that guys like T.J. Watt and Highsmith and Sawyer and Nick Herbert can get some pressure on the quarterback. Thanks for the call, Will. Let's go up to Mike in Beaver County. Mike joins us right now on the hotline. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure, anytime.
I want to slow the roll a little bit on Skylar Thompson here.
Okay.
There are just two words I want to give you to remind people what happened just a few years ago. Kenny Pickett had a perfect passer rating in the preseason, and look what that turned out to be. So we need to keep Mason Rudolph as our backup, and if we can, get a bottle of green rub for Skylar Thompson, then trade him.
The only thing I'll say about that, and I appreciate the call, is that what happens if there are injuries? And again, my best guess on what the Steelers are going to do is they're going to obviously go with Rodgers and Mason, and they're going to put Howard on a short-term IR, keep Skylar Thompson around, just because. Howard's not going to play anyway. He won't play all season long. However, when you're on that IR, you do lose some other options of practice time, and you don't get that opportunity. So I think in time he'll come off of that, but they may keep Skylar Thompson around for two reasons. Number one, if there's an injury over the first 4 weeks of the season. Number two, if you wait long enough, there could be another team that is desperate for a quarterback because injuries happen all the time. Again, witness what happened in Vegas. Aiden O'Connell goes out, now they need a backup. So if somebody's willing to make a deal with you, you might be able to get a sixth-round pick, a fifth-round pick. That may be too high, whatever. So I think that's how they'll play it. But you're right, preseason. The thing I always think of preseason is this. Detroit once went 4-0 in the preseason and then followed by going 0-16 in the regular season. Back to the lines we go. It's Andy on the north side. Andy joins us on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I think you kind of already answered my question. I was calling about the Tour Championship. I don't know if you know why they changed that format, or like you said, I don't think it was really fair. Their rank. You're the number one rank. You should get some, even if they lower make it 5 under or whatever. But
I agree with that, and the thought was that they just wanted to make it an even thing, so that there was no complaining about guys who were third or fourth having to work their way out of a four-shot deficit. That's fine, but you've earned that. They keep track of points all season long, and because you do that, you would think there'd be some benefit for those who accumulate the most points. If you're not going to use that system, then my question would be, why does Scotty Scheffler have to play in a lot of events? He can still get there as long as he's in the top 30 by this tournament. He can be in the field, so he doesn't have to play in every event. That would defeat the purpose of having these guys play on these games. They want them to be involved in all the significant tournaments. so that they can be there for television reasons and for spectator reasons, but also to build up points. So the point should have some sort of benefit here, and in this case, I don't think it does. And I think, from what it sounds like, it's here to stay. They're not going to go back. Back to the lines we go, and that would be Mike in Charleroi. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, hi, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I want to talk about the second goofiest rule in baseball, and that would be the official score determining the winning pitcher in the event the starter doesn't go 5 innings. Here's an example. The starter goes 4 2/3 innings. They're up 5-0. Reliever comes in, gets the final out in the 5th inning.
He gets the win.
The following 4 innings, the additional relievers, they give up 4 runs. The winning score is 5-4, and the guy that got the 1 out is generally going to be called the winner. That's not fair to the starter.
No, but that's the rule that's written. They're going to have to change the rule if they want that to change. But at this point, that's stood for many, many years, and I don't see it changing. But I hear what you're saying. Frank in Bellevue is up next right here on KDK+. What's up, Frank?
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
Good. What's going on?
On your bobblehead.
No,
Hey,
thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment about the Pirates. It's painful to watch. I mean, I grew up in the 70s.
Even this weekend.
You know what?
It was a good
They might have
weekend.
done well this. Okay, I'll give you that. But you know what? In the big scheme of pitchers and things, it's almost hard to get into it, man. I mean, I want the Pirates to win so bad. Believe me, Bob. But the problem is that what player is going to come to this organization because they're not willing to spend the money. You know, I mean, that's the thing. We got the pitching, but we ain't got no hitters, and I feel like sometimes all the players that we have are just double-A ball players, and they're not
Correct.
making a significant impact.
And the next best thing coming up is Connor Griffin, and he's not ready to be here next year, although he may be the way he's going. He had another RBI tonight and an Altoona win, so you're right. I mean, if they're going to have to pay, they're going to have to overpay. But that's a problem they've created for themselves by not willing to bring in players and not willing to pay the price. Now, there's another way around that if you don't want to spend the money, and I hope they do because you still need bats. Bellinger, for example, was available last year or the year before. He still has 24 home runs with the Yankees. I keep mentioning different guys who are available, and you got to pay, Pete Alonso, for example. They needed a first baseman, and I think, Spencer Horwitz done okay over there, but Alonso brings a bat, and, you got to pay $27 million a year. So pay it. There's no stopping you to do it. Now, if they're not going to do that, there is another way around that, and that's trading your assets, and you have some pitching assets. They can do that if they want, but the question is who and what do you get? They may have missed an opportunity for Mitch Keller at the trade deadline. His stock was very high, and they ended up not doing anything. They got offered a Cubs, one of their top hitting prospects, and they didn't make that deal. If that's true, missed opportunity, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. Although I still think Keller can be a good, part of this rotation. They got a lot of options here based on what we've seen recently. All right, we're going to take a break. 412-575-2600. Scott and Chuck, you'll be coming up next. We're right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Hey, join us tonight, 11:35 KDKA-TV. It's the #1 Cochrane Sports Showdown. Andrew Filipponi, Jeff Hathorn, and Mike DeCourcy are my guests. We have a lot to get into there. We've got some tweets before I go back to the lines here. Greg says, hey, Bob, you guys do a good job, but why do you and the other sports announcers always mention negative things about the teams, even if they've swept the team and playing well? Well, again, we give them their props. I just said that. I thought it was a great weekend. They outscored them 18-1, and their pitching looks bright. But the problem is they're still in last place. And over the course of this entire season, which is how they're judged, it's a results-based business. It is what it is. They're in last place. Colonel Slade says, Bob, if Skeens wins the Cy Young, which he should, I see no reason why he wants to stay here when the large market teams are committed to winning, will come calling. Well, yeah, and that's the problem the Pirates have, which is why they need to really operate urgently here in this offseason and try to salvage something for the next 2 years, because beyond that, I don't know if he's going to be here or not. Let's go to Chuck in Uniontown joining us tonight. Hey, Chuck, how are you?
Fine, Bob. Thank you. Bob, it's nice to see that Connor Griffin is making his way up through the Pirate farm system. What concerns me, there doesn't seem to be much of a cavalry behind it. You don't hear of too many other good prospects down there. I think sometimes what happens, organizations, and maybe the Pirates aren't the only one guilty of this. In the last maybe quarter of a century, the teams, it was pitching,
Right.
And I think maybe some organizations ignored, the offensive side of the thing. Do you think the same thing?
I think they put pitching is very important. If you have it, it's harder to get pitching than it is hitting, I think, although now the Pirates need hitting. But I think Connor Griffin will be the next guy. Tamar Johnson's getting a little bit better of late. There's some guys in the lower levels, but I don't know how long it'll take for them to get here. Oh, what happened to our man Chuck? I was going to go to him. Or no, who was at the top of the board? Whoever it was. I'm sorry. I wanted to get to your call next, and I didn't do it. My bad. Call back tomorrow if you can at 412-575-2600. All right, got another tweet here. This is from Bob Davidson, who says, while watching the Pirate game Saturday, I started tracking the calls, balls and strikes, and for the final 62 taken pitches of the game, 16% were wrong. We wouldn't accept 84% accuracy for tennis umpires. Why should we with MLB? Well, I think, Bob, you're going to see a change in that, and I think it may be as soon as next year. At least I hope so. Electronic umpires, if this is how it's going to be, they still have a role behind home plate, but they don't have to call the balls and strikes. That'll be done like a tennis system, and the NFL uses this Hawkeye system that they use in tennis. The technology keeps getting better, so may as well use it if it means better calls behind the plate. That's going to do it for us. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow at 10:35. In the meantime, join us tonight at 11:35 after the late news on KDKA for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. So who will have more receptions this season? That's our Penn West University question. The answer is Jonnu Smith over Pat Freiermuth. I disagree with that. We'll discuss it on the Showdown tonight. Good night.